guys, welcome to another episode of the Fit Couples Perspective. Excited to be here with you today. How are you doing?
Good.
Good. She says I'm red. For those of you that aren't watching, we got some nice weather and I spent a lot of time out in the sun. And you did too. I think I'm darker than you, actually.
You're redder than me. You'll never be darker than me.
I'm more tan. I know it.
Nope.
I know it. We had a nice weekend. This weather got like really, really nice here after our snowmageddons, and
yeah,
we spent a lot of time outside.
Yeah.
A lot of time, which was nice. We just went on a bike ride.
Yep. So nice.
Bike ride with the kids. Rode along the Greenbelt, right along the river, went to the candy store.
It's quite the adventure.
It was an adventure indeed. What do you want to talk about today?
Well, I thought we could talk a little bit about nutrition.
Oh, nutrition. Oh.
So food, that's what we're going to talk about today. I think a lot of people have a lot of questions about food. When to eat it, how to eat it, how much, what to eat, all of those different things. I think a lot of people have a lot of questions about that. And I just want to emphasize it's so different for every person. So obviously none of this is like, can go for just like one person. I think this is like a overall, this is the best case scenario type of thing, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, when it comes to nutrition, nobody should be seeking like their exact nutrition, end all be all nutrition advice from like a podcast.
Yeah.
I think when your decisions you make about nutrition should really be your cumulative information gathering over many different sources over a lot of time, where you try and find those sources that you think are trusted and good sources, and then you start to experiment with yourself a little bit wisely until you kind of come to that place that works really well for you.
Yeah. I just wanted to start off too, kind of giving both of our, maybe like our nutrition journeys to where we are now.
Sure.
I mean, like a quick little excerpt from our life. But mine, I would say, obviously, like as a kid, nutrition wasn't like ever a thing talked about at my house. There was never talk of like protein or carbs or like anything like that. Not that I'm saying that that's right either way, but it just never was. As I was in high school, I think that I started to think about nutrition a little bit more, but it was like the generality. Is that
sure, that works. Yeah.
Of nutrition. So what I mean by that is like, have a salad. Like the salad is the healthier choice. Not knowing like literally anything more about a salad than it's a salad. Does that make sense? Yeah. Like not the calories, not the
dressing,
like,
what's on it. It's like it has lettuce.
Yeah,
it's a salad.
And I could put ranch on it and it's healthier than a burger. Like that was my mentality. So then I met you, of course. And so that like catapulted my nutrition journey like to a whole different level. I definitely had no idea about like 99%. Like I said, it was like very general nutrition knowledge before then, like have a salad instead of that, or like I don't even know, like that was literally the basis of my eat healthy. So when I met you, it was like, oh, protein powder, like, oh, but it wasn't even, there wasn't a why behind it. It was just like, that's what you did, so I kind of did it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so I wasn't doing it for my person, like me personally. I just was like, oh, this is how like a healthy person eats, so I'm just gonna eat that way. And I had nothing to do with like what I liked or anything like that, which is fine because I was in my early 20s, so it really didn't matter, I don't think, what I ate for the most part.
Sure.
Of course I didn't have any like huge fitness goals, so I wasn't like bodybuilding like him, so I think that would have like turned it a little bit differently. But and then I feel like in my like late 20s, early 30s, it was all about like trying different diets. And you probably are like you can attest to me doing that. Like, I mean, I did like keto.
You did vegan.
I did them all.
Fasting.
Yeah, I feel like I did all of them, because I think once you get to a certain level of like knowing calories, because I like started to calorie count after I met you, like later on in our relationship, I feel like I've started to do that. But then it was like, it's almost like these like levels that you have to get through to like start doing this because you've already done this, if that makes sense. Yeah. And and you like said, experimenting. And so that was like, for me, those different diets were for me. If that makes sense. Like, I wasn't doing them because you were doing keto. I wasn't doing them because I heard, like you hear on like social media or YouTube.
And you got excited.
Exactly. And that's exactly what it was. But you know what? I'm glad that I did all of those diets because it led me to a place where I know what works for me and not what works for anybody else. And so I think that that's like the biggest thing that we need to like pound into everyone's head is it has to work for you. Because one diet, if somebody comes out there and says that there's a diet that fixes everybody, they're wrong. It's not true. Other than the diet of, if you want to lose weight, eat less calories and move more. Like, that's literally the only thing but there's not a specific diet. You could eat Snickers, eat 2 Snicker bars a day and lose weight if you wanted to. Yeah. So then in the end, I found a place where there's nothing that I like keep out of my diet. There's nothing that I won't eat. There's nothing that I'm restricted.
It's not true. She won't eat goat cheese.
Okay, I'm saying that's very true. But it's not for like a calorie reason. It's for like palate reasons. But that's probably one of the only things I won't eat.
Yeah, that's true.
I am not a very picky eater. So, with that said, why don't we go to yours? Because I've kind of found what works for me. And like I said, that's what you have to find. And if it takes, I'm 36, if it takes 36 years to figure that out, you have a whole long life ahead of you to like use that for the rest of your life to keep, like you and your fitness goals. So
no, I think it's good. And I think it's helpful that you share that because there's probably a lot of other people out there that are, on their own nutrition journey. And I think it's helpful to hear what other people go through. Like, nobody just figures it out.
Yeah,
nobody just one day gets interested in nutrition and fitness and just, I figured out my diet, right?
Yeah.
For me, it was more like, I think we grew up similar way. There was never any discussion of like, try and get your protein in, don't eat too much sugar. I mean, we both got to eat pretty much everything that we wanted to eat, but we weren't out of shape. We weren't like, we were both athletic kids and it worked okay. And as a kid, you can definitely get away from that. I mean, I do wish that my parents had given me a little more guidance with some of that, but I don't think they knew. And I think a lot of people back then just didn't know. I mean, I ate good food. I ate home-cooked meals. Wish I probably wouldn't have had Fruity Pebbles for breakfast every morning in high school. It would have probably held my focus and my energy. But, I think that, we just kind of did whatever we wanted. And then when I got into college and I was playing soccer, still ate like a very, very restricted financial budget. And my budget was $25 a week for food. So it was mostly Hot Pockets, party pizzas, ramen. I mean, pretty typical, I think, college stuff. But then when I got into bodybuilding, like I hit this point where I remember meeting with this trainer for the first time. And he sat down with me to do like my initial consultation at the gym that you get for free. And he's like, all right, what are you trying to do? I'm like, I'm trying to build muscle. And at the time I'm playing college soccer. And I mean, the first question that he asked me, he goes, well, tell me what you eat every day. And I remember being really confused by that question. I'm like, no, don't you want to hear like how hard I'm working out or like what my workout split is? He's like, tell me what you eat every day. So I remember walking through it, and I remember like I kind of knew where he was going with this, so I even like plumped it up a little more than I usually was. And I remember him like calculating. He's like, yeah, it's like 1,800 calories a day. He goes, you're a college soccer player, you're training twice a day for soccer, you're coming in here and working out and you're eating 1,800 calories a day, you'll never gain any muscle. And I remember it was like, So I remember asking him, what should I do then? Like, what am I supposed to eat? And he's like, anything. I mean, his guidance to me at that point was like, eat ice cream, eat anything. It doesn't matter. Have a milkshake every night. Just eat more food. And so I took that advice and I just started eating more food. I'd do 2 packets of ramen, 2 grilled cheese sandwiches. And I think like that was kind of helpful for me to get an understanding of nutrition. But when I started my bodybuilding journey, I was so dedicated to it that I was not going to eat anything that I felt like was not going to directly support those goals. So I spent years and years and years just eating like literally what I thought was perfect. It was like oatmeal, chicken, and almonds for every meal. I would just like there's the macros. There's my healthy carbohydrates, my healthy protein, my healthy fats. Repeat every 2 hours and go. And I didn't care. Like, obviously it was awful tasting, but it didn't matter to me. I liked the sacrifice. I was willing to do anything to get to a point where if I thought it was going to help me with my goals, like that's how bad I wanted it. And then, you saw my post-show rebounds. So the problem with that is, the first time I ever dieted for a show, she watched me go from I would literally not put an M&M in my mouth for 16 weeks to, binging so bad I almost had to go to the hospital sick. And so I'd go from extreme dieting to this, binge, and then I'd kind of get back on my eating clean again. And then, I realized that was bad. Like, I couldn't continue to binge, but then I got so into the modeling sponsorships and competing that I just spent years and years of my life living sub 10% body fat. And I was so restrictive on what I ate, that it created so much food focus for me. And all I ever thought about was food. I just thought about food 24/7. When's my next cheat meal? What am I going to have? And it would just consume everything in me as I was thinking about that. So then you kind of fast forward to where we're at now. And I think we're both at a really good spot because, I don't keep anything out of my diet either. Even, had somebody that, sent me a DM yesterday and they're like, how do you guys eat crumble cookies? Like, those are so unhealthy for you. Each one has 60 to 80 grams of sugar. Are you really okay with that? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I know how much sugar is in them, but I'm totally okay with it, right? Because we figured out how to eat where we don't exclude anything from our diets. And honestly, I think the best diet is the one where you don't say no to anything just because of that diet. We can eat anything. We give ourselves that freedom to eat anything. So that's where we're both at right now. I think we both eat, if I had to guess, 90% of the food we put in our mouth is fairly clean according to a lot of people. But we eat what we want, and we've figured out the formula.
Yeah, I would agree. I think labeling foods good and bad, I think, is just a really...
Oh, it's a terrible thing to do.
It just is a really bad road to go down, because you can do that. I mean, and we used to look at menus before we would go to restaurants and try to figure out what's the lowest calorie or whatever. And mind you, I still don't think that that's a horrible, because if somebody is they're trying to have a restrictive diet for a certain reason, that's a great idea to do. Yeah. But I think for the long term, you can't do that for the long term.
Not a good sustainable plan for the most part. We give ourselves freedom to eat the things that we want to eat, and then we know how to adjust the rest of our diet for it. And if there was one piece of advice I would give somebody in regards to a diet, don't label any foods as bad. And that's exactly
that you can't have.
It's exactly what social media opposite of what social media will tell you is, you have every other person walking around a grocery store look at the back of this box. There's cancer-causing ingredients and all that. And it's just... it gets your attention, but it's so confusing. It creates so much confusion. Well, can I have it? Can I have it? And it's psychologically, it's just a disaster for people. Yeah,
I think, and the other thing is you can do that, you can go so far into it, if that makes sense. You can just hound every little tiny ingredient, so all you're eating is a potato and chicken that has no seasoning. And that has been the chicken has only been, raised outside alone, never touched by a human. You know what I'm saying? You can go, you can just keep going and going on that. Where it's then you're restricted your diet to so much of a small thing that you're gonna rebound, like you were talking about earlier at some point. Because there might be some people that can sustain that for a lifetime, but it's usually not going to happen.
No, and I think it's understanding too, again, the impact of these foods and these ingredients in them. People lose track of some of the little things, right? Let's just get back to, are we moving enough, right? Do we get outside and experience sunshine? Do you have a good community of people? Are you close with your family? Do you have a group at church, like somebody that you're close with, that you're connecting with? Are you drinking enough water? Are you getting enough sleep? Like, all these things play such a big role, and people will ignore those things.
All of them. Yeah.
But they're like, but it's okay because I don't have high fructose corn syrup, and so I'm going to live until I'm 100. And it's like, yeah, but you're miserable. You don't have these other aspects of your life that, are really, truly important to your overall health. But you're so focused on one of those things. Like this last show that I competed in, I wanted to make it a goal to have crumble every week leading up to the show. And I did. I'd crumble every week leading up to the show. I mean, a week before the show, I had crumble. And I was able to do that because it's all just a mathematic equation. I mean, it really, really is. It's just like a budget. And when you realize what your budget is, it's just when I'm dieting for a show, my budget's lower. Instead of, 4,000 calories, it's 2,000 calories, which means I can't quite fit as much fun in the budget, just like a financial budget, right? But I can still fit some fun in if I want to make some sacrifices other places. And I did that. And then when I got done with the show, I didn't feel the need to binge. Like there was no massive rebound, 20, 30 pounds of weight gain like so many people do, because finally I can eat all these things that I couldn't eat. It was like I had crumble last week. Like, yeah, I want crumble again because it's Saturday, and I always have crumble on Saturday, but it wasn't because I'd restricted myself from that. And I'll tell you this, like that binging and those massive yo-yos in body weight, that's really unhealthy. And psychologically, it's a mess too.
Yeah.
So you can argue hey, well, are you okay that has 60 to 80 grams of sugar and you eat that? Well, if I do a little bit of that every week and it prevents me from going AWOL in a pantry at 2 a.m., I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the budget idea is something that's, I think, like for me and you, that's our biggest tool in our nutrition, in our nutrition toolbox, should I say? Because if you just think about it like that, like, okay, you can even go in weeks, because you've done that before. Like this week I have this many calories, and you can budget so many per day.
Yes.
So like you could have a bigger one on Friday and Saturday and go lower in the weeks. It doesn't matter. Like if it all ends up the same amount, then at the end of the week or the month or the day or whatever, it doesn't matter. Like when they're consumed, how they're consumed. Like that's the thing, is I think that people get so caught up when they're first starting like a nutrition, like fitness goal, that they get so hung up on like the little things, like, oh, should I have broccoli with this meal? Or should I only have chicken from now on? Or whatever it is. Like for the most part, I would say it's a calorie in, calorie out. That 100%. Mathematical budget, and literally that's it. You can, like I said, you can have a Snickers every day if you want. That shouldn't ever be off your plate or off your budget if you want a Snickers every day. Do I think that's the best way to use your calories? Me personally, I wouldn't do that. But that doesn't mean that somebody else, that's how they would feel the best and not get that like craving to go have something like binge at the end of the night, if that makes sense.
98% of the equation is truly understanding your calorie intake and how many you should be taking on a daily basis and hitting that weekly number. If your goal is to eat 2,000 calories per day, you look at a total of 7 days in the week, you can say, okay, that's 14,000 calories for the week that I need to eat. Now, if I know that I've got some big event coming up that I want to eat extra for, I could literally go 1,500 calories on Wednesday, 1,500 calories on Thursday, 1,500 calories on Friday. I'm going to be hungry. It's going to suck a little bit. But then guess what? I can go 3,500 calories on Saturday. And that works. The math works on that. And it can include crumble. It can include Snickers. It can include those things. Now, we're not sitting here saying, guys, go pick crumble or Snickers over, having a nutrient-dense salad. Like, that's not what we're saying. When you use the budget approach, you will automatically start picking better options.
Because you want to stay full.
It's just like a budget.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. Like, if you make $2,000 a month, could you go get a brand new truck and have $1,000 car payment and afford it? Yeah, you could. you'd probably realize really quick, like, oh man,
can't
this
do anything
sucks.
else.
I got to live in my parents' basement, and I can't do anything. We eat top ramen, and
Yeah.
I can't go out and do anything fun. And then you'll probably, on your own, come to the conclusion that, you know, I should sell this truck, and I should get a more reasonable car, and so I can have more balance in my life. And you'll figure that same thing out with nutrition when you approach it in the budget approach.
Yeah, and I think both of us too. The crazy thing is we neither of us even, I don't know if you do, but I don't calculate my food anymore. I did it for so long.
You'll figure it out.
You'll figure out like where your body sits and where it's comfortable and where you just know if you're overeating, if that makes sense. And it's obviously if you know the calories that you're eating already because you've calculated them so many times. It takes time.
You'll figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, we've done it.
You don't have to do it forever.
Yeah, yeah. And I would not suggest doing that forever. So that is a little bit about our nutrition and our history of nutrition, how we've come to just be okay and kind of maintain our lifestyle without having to worry about it all the time and having to adjust things all the time and trying new diets and trying what works. I'm not saying that any of those things are bad because I think that helps you figure out what works for you. So don't feel bad if you are doing a diet, but just be careful about thinking that it's like end all be all. I think that you take a tiny bit. I took a tiny bit from each diet that I tried, and it all kind of works together for me now.
This is our perspective. And the whole point is just to give you more insight into what to do for your own, but not by any means saying this is what you have to do. So hopefully that was insightful. And you can take some of this information along with a lot of other information and start to mold your own nutrition plan that makes the most sense for you.
Okay, we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn on notifications so you know when we have a new